Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the TateOnChain podcast. I'm your host, Tate, and today I'm joined yet again by Brandon, the HBAR Bull. Brandon, how you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm having fun with everything.
That's awesome. Last time I hosted you was nearly 2 years ago from today. It's been quite some time and a lot's changed on HBAR, wouldn't you say?
Oh yeah, I mean, well, the ecosystem has just broadened out so much. There's so much to do. The last time we talked, we were just starting to get some of the things that we needed, some more advanced wallets, and starting to get DeFi going, all that kind of stuff. But where we were then compared to where we are now, it's an amazing move in 24 months, and I just can't imagine where we're going to be 2 years from now.
Most definitely. It's exciting. And if anybody's interested in wanting to learn more about Brandon's start before getting on Hedera and creating his channel, the HBAR Bull, feel free to check out our previous podcast. It'll be linked down below. But this podcast is solely going to be focused on your upcoming NFT collection, the Bullbarians. How are you feeling about it? You excited?
So you probably, you've kind of been following this. I was with the HBAR Foundation, and that fell through. So, but I can't imagine not working in the Hedera ecosystem.
Sure.
I could certainly go back and work offshore. I was working as a master and offshore installation manager offshore, but I'm happy now. I was a lot less happy when I was working offshore. For a long time, I loved that career, but I needed a change.
Yeah.
And having some success there for a while allowed me to make that shift over. And after leaving the HBAR Foundation, I got a little bit of support there in the middle, and then now I kind of have to figure out how I'm going to do it on my own. I have been pinging and seeing, where I might be able to get support and things like that. And I started off seeing if I could get donations. My hope was maybe I could get, one of the HBAR whales out there just to throw a good amount at me, and then I wouldn't have to bother anybody again. But during that time, teams like Kabila and others were like, hey, you should do an NFT collection. And initially, I didn't really want to just put maybe the pressure on the the NFT community to support my channel, but now I'm thinking about it in a different way. Number one, the artist that I started to work with is putting out some amazing art. I just kind of gave him an idea, and we can get into that a little bit later, of
Sure.
what I wanted. And what he ended up producing just kind of blew me away, which got me a lot more passionate about what we were doing. And then it's like, well, wait a second. It's not necessarily putting pressure just on our NFT ecosystem. Maybe I can grow this to the point where I'm bringing people from other NFT communities outside of the Hedera ecosystem in, getting them excited about Hedera, and then, it's a net positive. It's not pulling from a certain group. And I think with some of the plans that we have, we can certainly do that.
Sure. That's quite exciting to hear. Utilizing it as like a way to onboard people, an onboarding tool, one could argue. That's cool.
Exactly. Well, I've talked to the creator of Grelf, Jake, and some other people, and that's a lot of times what they want to do. They want to use it as the first foothold to get new people into the ecosystem. And I think there's some potential for that. But I also have some other things, talking to Kabila and talking to them about their vision about tokenizing your brand, tokenizing your community. I kind of have fallen in love with their vision, and I want to see if I can really make it to come to fruition in a completely new way, and really just take it to that next level.
Most definitely. So I have an introduction based off your white paper relating to the collection. I'm going to read it real quick. The Bullbarbarians are the Hbarbarians for this HBAR Bull Run and everyone after, designed to represent the strongest warriors from every part of this world and beyond. They are diverse as the supporters of Hedera and HBAR. That's a really nice introduction. What inspired the creation of the Bullbarbarians? I know you talked to some, various other teams on Hedera, and they're looking to help you tokenize your community. Is that kind of one of the main fronts that you're looking to kind of leverage this as tokenizing your entire community, or what really inspired that?
Yeah, but by my entire community, I mean like all of the Hbarbarians
Of
out there. And of course, by Hbarbarians, we're meaning people that support the HBAR, who own the HBAR, who get involved with the community and so forth. And, I always kind of had a picture in the back of my mind of, what an Hbarbarian was. And I worked with a graphic designer, this was years ago, 2021. And he came, this is older. This is like 2019 maybe. And he came up with it was like Lehman's Legions. Like we were trying to figure out, what our group was going to be called. And, it was a realistic looking legionnaire from Roman. And it was kind of that, like, okay, well, that's a warrior from this one place that could be an Hbarbarian, and then there's all different kinds, like Vikings, or Native Americans, or natives from South America, or what a samurai. You could go down the line of all these different warriors, and because those are so diverse, that's kind of what I thought of as the Hbarbarians. And then to kind of tie that to my HBAR Bull brand, I was like, can we do that with some horns, some bull horns or something like that? And then of course the artist ran with that, and it's again so much more than I could have expected. I love the realistic look, and then it's the next step, because once you kind of fall in love with those characters, it's like, what else can we do with these? And we could certainly get into that a little bit later, but yeah, I'm excited about it.
Most definitely. Sounds very enticing, and I gotta say, I personally do love the art. It feels like it's a blend between a mixture of like AI art and also, utilizing whatever tools the artist may be using to blend it all together, so it's not completely AI. Is that a good
Yeah.
representation?
That's exactly it.
Yeah.
I mean, he's using AI as the base, and then he goes in and enhances it and puts his own tweak on it, make sure it stays on brand, puts little, Hedera stuff in there to make sure it stays on brand. And yeah, I mean, it's the best way to get a good result in a relatively short period of time. But starting this off, you hear, AI generation, and you think it's fast. It's taking him a while. That's why the initial mint is going to be fairly small. It is taking him some time. He's been working on it for weeks now, and, it's going to take a couple more weeks before he gets that first 200, 250, 300, someplace in that ballpark for the first series in the mint.
Most definitely. They do seem like they have a lot of details, so he's definitely paying attention a lot to that. The total supply is going to be about 5,000, correct?
So about the total supply, I know that's something that a lot of people brought up, and they multiplied the total supply about the price that I was throwing out there, and wondering, that's a lot of money. I don't. It really wasn't about that. So I'm thinking about doing this maybe every 2 months, 4 months, someplace in that range. Maybe 4 mints or 4 series, per year,
Sure.
at one a quarter ballpark. But I also didn't want, if we were going to do that, and I was going to give the artist time to develop these different series. I didn't want people to think this was going to be in perpetuity. I wanted there to be some kind of a limit there. It's not going to go on forever. So I wanted there to be some kind of scarcity, but I also didn't. I wanted to make it like, what is, if we had a really large, vibrant Hbarbarian community, what would the core look like? And I thought that was like maybe around 5,000. But if I had to guess, it's, again, just popped into my head. I was thinking 5 years before this all gets out. Who knows if we actually get there? But that was where the number came from.
Sure. So about like so if it's like a 5-year agenda, it's about 1,000 NFTs a year, roughly, wouldn't you say?
That's it. About that.
Nice. Do you have a rough idea of what the mint price will be? Obviously, it's going to probably fluctuate because HBAR's price is not guaranteed now. And, who knows, maybe a year or two from now, HBAR's at $1. So I'm assuming the HBAR value will probably fluctuate. But for this first mint, do you have a rough idea?
Yeah, I'm thinking 400 HBAR,
Sure.
which I know people have thought that was expensive, but I think we have to think about it like this. I'm thinking of it as like the Web3 Patreon, right? We've already, I've mentioned, at least publicly, we haven't talked about it on here, but I'm going to create a Galaxy world for the community, token gated, so people can come in there, get early access to my content, things like that. So, you think about it as, you might not, if you were going to, like, we'll say a PBS promotion dinner or something like that, where you're supporting the channel, it might be $500 a plate or $400 a plate. You're not paying for it because you think the plate of food is $400. You're doing it because you want to support the PBS channel, and then everybody benefits from that because they get to consume the content as well. So that's kind of how I'm thinking about it, like a Web3 Patreon, and that's where I came up with the 400 HBAR number. I understand that might not be for everybody, but hopefully it keeps me in the ecosystem, and I can continue to create content, and everybody can benefit from that.
Most definitely. You're launching on my favorite launch pad, Kabila. And have you ever considered, I know you mentioned just now Galaxy Worlds. I really love what Galaxy is doing with that because I see it being, standalone and unique, as you're able to create your own app pretty much. And it's stored on your phone. It's your own world. And that's really cool. But have you ever considered Kabila Plazas as well?
I have, absolutely. And that's one thing, I have a lot of plans for potentially what we can do with this collection. But I'm also very conservative in what I promise, because I want to make sure that I can actually do it and do it to the quality that I'd like to put out there. So I'm going to start with the world. I do want to look at creating a Kabila Plaza as well. But I just have to make sure that we can do it. And that's the other thing. Like if HBAR goes up to $1 and, people are still willing to support this project, maybe I can bring other people online where I can support other things along those lines. So we'll see how it all works out. But of course, everything that Kabila does, I want to get involved with as much as possible. And like I said, I want to facilitate their vision. They want to be a one-stop shop, right? So they want to provide all of those tools for creators to manage their community. But I also have relationships with Galaxy and things like that. And I want to be able to just take all of these different tools that we have out there and teams and take them to the next level. So, for example, I want to do the mint on Kabila, this initial mint. I want to have the secondary market mainly on Centex. I want to have the world on Galaxy. I'm trying to spread things out a little bit so I can support as many of these different teams as possible.
You're spreading the love, Brandon.
That's
we
it.
Love to see
That's
it.
it.
Nice. So, talking a little more about the Patreon-esque part of this tokenization of sort of the broader Hbarbarian community, do you plan on solely making this content limited to the tokenized NFT holders? Or is it also like, are you going to release it to them early and then, release it to the public eventually later on? What's the plan for, that Patreon part of the content creation?
Sure. Yeah. Well, just to start, I create a lot of the interviews that I do.
Mm-hmm.
I do those on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday.
Okay.
I edit them and then I put them in my show on Friday. Of course, all the stuff on Friday I actually record on Friday. But the interviews, shark bites, and things like that, I do that earlier in the week. And as long as I can get the teams to okay it to go out, I'll go ahead and put it in the world early. Could there be exclusive content as well? Yes. But I also want to use all of the other tools that Galaxy's looking at having. So doing live streams through the Galaxy tool, specific content to certain builders. If people ask me a question, I can record a video, throw that on there, things like that. So I want to engage in all the ways that Galaxy pretty much has the vision for what they're trying to create. The creator's Galaxy. They're trying to empower the creator middle class. And obviously that's kind of exactly where I fit. I'm not a big celebrity. I'm not a huge influencer, but I'm not just getting started either. So it's kind of that person that wants to try to monetize their brand and their content in new ways. So I really want to try to follow their vision, work with them, figure out the ways, maybe different features that they're looking at adding later on, and maybe get those added to my world first, to try it out, see how it works, and so forth. So kind of as a test bed for some of the things that they're trying out, I could be their guinea pig.
Most definitely. In my eyes, Brandon, you are one of the biggest HBAR creators, though, by far. And so I gotta point that out when it's due, because you've been in here creating content for the Hbarbarians for many years now. Probably the standalone, most consistent content creator focused on HBAR related stuff. So in my eyes, I believe that you are probably one of the most popular in that regards. Obviously, HBAR isn't necessarily as big and broad on the retail side yet, but we're getting there. And so when our time comes, when mass adoption truly hits Hedera, I think people will really look at you as one of those go-to guys for content, information, and resources. I'm curious to know, utilizing the Galaxy Worlds, will people be able to utilize and get access to you if they hold these NFTs on a more personal level? Like if they have questions, concerns, or just anything correlating with the NFTs, or anything correlating with HBAR more or less specifically, will they be able to just go to you and ask those questions? I know you're very active on X already, but sometimes, some people might find it hard to get a hold of you. Would you feel as if this would be a perfect outlet for the community to have like a one-stop shop with you?
Yeah, exactly. So the main part of Galaxy Worlds is just regular posts.
Sure.
So you'd be able to post kind of like what you see on X, and then they have a group chat for the entire world. So you'd be able to talk back and forth, and then you also have the ability to have DMs, just like you might see elsewhere. Gotcha. But once you've kind of tied a person to an identity because they're in your world, you can talk to them directly back and forth. And of course, with it just being a few hundred people initially, maybe half of them actually come into the world. I'm hoping I get a lot more than that, but I can have those direct connections. And what's nice about that is it's Web3 native as well. So we've done that with like the KC Social, which is the karate combat world,
Yeah.
where you can interact directly and you can have small NFTs there where you can go back and forth with people, or you can have like fungible tokens, send things as rewards, things like that. That's another thing that I would like to do. And I have to make sure that this is all okay from a regulatory standpoint, but I have a lot of good relationships in the space with fungible token creators, things like that. I want to bring them into the world as well, so they can interact with this core crew that I'm trying to build, and that it being a Web3 native app, they're going to be able to interact in Web3 ways. So putting their fungible tokens out there, or maybe having a contest or something like that. And I would like this world to kind of be the showcase for that kind of work.
Most definitely. You mentioned that the art stands on its own. Who designed the artwork? Is it somebody we might know in the HBAR space, or are they from outside of the HBAR ecosystem?
Not somebody who everybody would know,
Sure.
but somebody that does work in the Hedera space.
Okay.
But a professional graphic designer wants to remain anonymous. So I'm gonna respect that for now. But
Sure.
at some point, if he wants to come out and take credit for all the great work that he's done, I certainly want to do that, because he has done a fantastic job with this and then other projects that he's worked on in the space as well. And he is going to be getting a good portion of the proceeds. He's also kind of doing it as a thank you for some of the things that I've helped him with. He kept on trying to push me down on how much he was getting as far as the mint, but, I wouldn't be able to do this without him. So I kept on trying to push it up. So eventually I was just like, no, this is how much you're getting. And that's going to be it.
Sure.
We're going to be supporting him as well. And then all the other things that he's trying to do in the space, that supports him there as well.
Cool.
I've actually found that that's probably the best way to support creators in the space, instead of just this blanket grant system. And now I'm going to go into the philosophical, Hedera ecosystem thing with these official organizations. I like the idea of, instead of just going out and finding who is known for creating whatever it might be. If it's, NFTs, or if it's, an analytical site, or whatever these organizations need.
Yeah.
Find the teams that are already in the space, that have had some success and done things well, and then just give them the business instead of picking them out to do a grant for whatever their vision is. Let them fit your vision a little bit. And we actually saw that. And I don't know if, it was influenced from things that I've said in the past, but we saw that with Kabila. Hashgraph wanted to create the developers playground. Right. And so they wanted a one-stop shop for people that were interested in learning how to build on Hedera.
Yeah.
And of course, there's other teams out there in the wide world of crypto that probably have done that before and had a fair amount of success. Kabila, on the other hand, they were, our NFT launchpad, and maybe you wouldn't have thought of them as the team that could do that. But Hashgraph gave them the chance to get that business, and they've created this fantastic product, and they're passionate about it. And pay them a little bit extra for it, right? Overpay them for that, because then they can take some of that capital and they can put that towards some of the other things that they're trying to do in the world of tokenizing brands and so forth.
Well said. I also want to mention that I feel like a lot of people are going to support you because of how much you've given back to the community over these past years, with constantly being, like I already mentioned earlier, consistently putting out content for pretty much free. If you think about it, you've been very consistent for many years now, providing that outlet for resources and information relating to HBAR and Hedera. And I feel like it's just kind of, a good way for the community who feel as if you've provided value to their lives and provided a source of information, viable information, to be like, hey, I can buy his NFT, I can now be a part of his community, and now I have this outlet to, support him as much as he's supported me throughout these years. That's kind of just what's been going through my head. I'm curious to know, what are some of the other ways you plan on possibly leveraging these NFTs to provide additional fronts of utility?
That's a great question. So one of the things, also, I have a company. It's hard to be in the Hedera space and not want to build Twidgel. And
True.
The
Yeah.
main thing that Twigital is we can take pretty much any physical object and turn that into a 3D version of that object, and then mint that into an NFT on Hedera. And it looks like we might be able to get a patent here, so we're pretty
Nice.
excited about that. But we're also doing some other things. We have something called Twigital Labs, and it's initially using AI, so you can prompt it, and it'll create one of these 3D objects, whatever you might want. The
Sure.
one thing that I was doing today, getting ready for the Super Bowl, was creating a 3D Eagles mascot, right? But you can also train these things based off of art that already exists. So you can teach the model with something that's already there. So you can take one of these Hbarbarians and create a 3D rendering. If you do it the right way, you can animate it, even use it in games. So that's one of the things you can use these. I think these characters would be great for TV shows and movies and all that kind of stuff,
Yeah.
but also video games. And, I'm certainly open to, I've talked to a few gaming teams already about ways we could use these for the gaming space. And, I don't want to say these are the exclusive Hbarbarians. We have, that moniker is owned by our entire team out there. I think it was originally brought out by Coinman the Hbarbarian, but we've all adopted it. So if there's more NFTs out there, I know there's some already out there of Hbarbarians. That's fine, but I do want this to be one of the main ones that's
Sure.
out there. I picture in spaces like a bunch of these Hbarbarians showing up on different spaces and kind of being the horde that rolls in. So I want to give them as many different ways to use this brand of the Bullbarbarians, and have fun with it. Whether that's movies and videos and that kind of stuff, or whether it's games, whether it's the exclusive content. We can go down so many different roads with it.
Most definitely. Do you plan on possibly acquiring the IP license and the IP rights to these pieces of art?
It was actually one of the other things the artist wanted to be sure of, was that the IP rights would rest with me rather than with him. But he has gone through all the proper steps to have that.
Nice. That's very exciting. One thing that comes to mind when you mention like TV shows, movies, and having these guys featured, like the NFTs, the Bullbarbarians featured in different things, would be like AI sentience coming up. I don't know if you've seen any of it. Like, obviously you see some of the AI bots that have their own personalized X accounts, posting on X, commenting under different people's posts and whatnot. But coming up, I'm starting to see more people having these things come up on spaces and speak. It'd be cool to see one of the Bullbarbarians having its own account, speaking up on stage in a barbarian accent to a degree. You never know. The possibilities are truly endless.
Well, that's the thing. I don't want to get too far ahead of myself. I want to do the things that I have first on my roadmap first, get those knocked out. But yes, I've already thought about that, because you could teach one of these models on, we'll say, all of the content that I've created going back to day one, right? Clean it up, make sure, if there's any mistakes in there, that stuff doesn't get in there. But if you're talking about all the hundreds and thousands of hours of content that I created, it's going to be a pretty knowledgeable Hbarbarian.
True. Yeah, well said. All right, so you kind of gave me a rough idea, a potential game possibly in the near future. Obviously, you're not making any promises, just because you want to make sure that you can actually fulfill whatever you provide and offer to the holders of this NFTs. But do you have like a rough idea of what this game could possibly look like if it were to come to fruition?
Well, there's been a few ideas kicked around.
Sure.
Patrick from Earthlings brought up one where a simple running game.
Gotcha.
You've seen the things where you're just running and doing different tasks and all that kind of stuff. I thought about a thing that kind of goes into karate combat as well, where like a real simple game. You've seen Smack 'em out there, where they're just doing one thing over and over. Like you start off breaking a small stick and then bigger and bigger until you're breaking logs, all that kind of stuff. But then getting into more engaging games, like maybe. I don't know, like, metaverse style things where you go on quests. This could go in so many different directions, but, I'm far from a gaming studio myself, so I would have to go with whatever the gaming teams are kind of throwing out there, giving my direction when it's needed. But, I also want to, if they think that this brand can help their studio out and it's something that they would be passionate about, those are the kind of teams that I'd want to work with. So it's kind of hard to build a brand, so this brand is kind of ready to go. So if a team has the skills but doesn't have the brand, this is a perfect place to collaborate.
Most definitely. Are there any teams you are interested in, spilling that you've already spoken to, possibly developing some sort of concept of a game?
Well, I haven't. There are a few, as I mentioned, there's a few teams, but I
Yeah,
didn't give them a heads up that I was going to be talking about it. The only
gotcha.
team that has publicly talked about it was Earthlings.
Yeah,
Patrick mentioned it on a space, but we hadn't talked about it too much in the background. So the other teams that I'm talking to, I'm not gonna I'm not gonna throw them
of course.
under the bus, considering I haven't given them a heads up.
Makes sense. So how exactly will the sale of these NFTs support your channel, the HBAR Bull? Because that was kind of the next thing after,
Yeah.
the rough idea of the utility.
Yeah, well, it really depends. So, what I'm trying to do now, I want to make sure that my voice stays kind of unbiased and I can give my honest opinion.
Sure.
We saw kind of last year around some of the things that came out that were controversial, and I wanted to speak on them, and the HBAR Foundation at the time didn't. So, I offered to resign and things like that to have the freedom that I wanted. So, I kind of want to set things up where, I have different income streams that can kind of support me. So I am looking at sponsorships and things like that. I'm an options trader, so I want to have those different things. So if for whatever reason one thing falls through, whether that's a sponsorship or whatever it might be, that I can continue creating that content.
Sure.
So right now I'm just trying to figure out ways where I can get different income streams. And gosh, I wish we were to get in a situation where whether native staking, but then again I can leverage other DeFi strategies to maximize some of these things where I might not necessarily be selling the principal right off the bat. Initially, I might, but I might be not selling that principal right off the bat. I can kind of take some of the income or gains off of it, putting pressure on the market. But then again, it doesn't matter who's working in this space. At some point, you're going to be putting pressure on the market, because if somebody's being supported through, the HBAR Foundation, the Hashgraph Association, or even teams that are being supported, congratulations on getting a gig with Genfinity. I don't know what if they're being supported by one of those official entities, but at some point, that's going to be putting pressure on the HBAR. What you have to make sure of is that whatever you're doing is adding more value to the Hedera ecosystem and the HBAR economy than whatever you're taking out. And this is kind of a litmus test, right? So if I can't get the proper support to do what I'm doing, I'm probably not adding enough value in the first place. So that tells me, hey, you might want to try and go do something else. But if I do get the support that I need, then that's telling me I probably am adding the value to the Hedera ecosystem that's necessary.
Most definitely. So you'd say that the revenue generated from these NFTs would go to supporting your channel directly to help further along the growth of that.
Yeah, I'm not going to shade this in any other way. It is for supporting me and my family, while I continue to create content.
I appreciate the honesty. So who are some of these other people working alongside the channel now? I know Rob is one of the guys, but you also have just onboarded Brady, right, to the channel?
Well, onboarded, I saw an opportunity, or
Yeah.
Brady and I saw an opportunity to focus more on DeFi. What I was going to do is called DeFi Corner, right? I was just going to do a segment
Nice.
in my show, but we realized really quick that it kind of deserved its own its own segment, or not own segment, but its own episodes.
Yeah.
So we started doing that. I'm doing the same thing with Shark Bites. Rob, he has so much time for the Hedera community, and though I like to make the weekly update a one-stop shop, I also want to make sure that he can cover every single question that he wants. So now we're putting that out independently as well. And of course, we do the Built on Hedera series that I started to do kind of independently as well. One of the problems with my show, even though I wanted it to be that one-stop shop where you could see everything that's going on in the Hedera ecosystem, it was hard to search, right? Like you couldn't go back and say, I want to learn about Neuron. Right? You couldn't just type in Neuron. It's going to come up with these really long hour and 15-minute videos. Yeah. But I started to post those interviews independently. Now, if you're curious about Neuron, you can go ahead and go on my channel, or Kabila. You can just type in Kabila, and it's going to pop up with individual interviews just talking about those subjects.
You might see me up there too.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, just on YouTube in general. But yeah, if you go directly to your channel, yeah, you'll probably see just Kabila if you look up Kabila. Anyways, getting back to those creators, I love to see the new addition of Brady. I think he's great for the show. Rob's incredible as always, providing the shark bites. Gotta love it. Will the sale of these NFTs also support them?
That's actually a really good question. I wasn't planning on it.
Sure.
But it is a good question. Now, I do support, Brady. My thought there is Rob, of course, has a day job with AP Plus. He's being supported through that.
Sure.
He is an Hbarbarian, so he holds a fair amount of HBAR, so hopefully my channel helps him through that. As far as Bonzo Finance and Brady, hopefully the additional attention that gets supports Bonzo Finance and they get more business and it supports him that way. But the NFTs itself, no, that was mainly going to be going to me.
Gotcha. All right.
And the artist, as I mentioned before.
Of course. Yeah. Is there anything I might have missed? Anything you want to possibly add or yeah?
I think we're pretty good. If you want to throw that white paper down in the description or
Most
something
definitely.
like that, I think we'll pretty much be all set. But yeah, beside that, I think timeline is going to be important. I think we're probably going to have the art done this week.
Sure.
And then I'm probably going to upload all that kind of stuff, create the collection next weekend with the help of Kabila, and then maybe the weekend after that, which I believe is right before HederaCon. That's what I guess it would be like
last week of February.
Yeah, 22nd-ish.
Yeah.
I'm not exactly sure what weekend that is, but right in there, we're going to do the main mint. And then I'm also going to do a small mint, we'll say 25 Bullbarians. We're going to do at HederaCon live,
Nice.
Showcasing the Kabila platform, what it can do, and all that kind of stuff. So if you're going to be there and you don't get one in the first mint or you want another one, you'll be able to get one there live.
I'll be there. And
There we go.
I'll be watching. That's awesome. I'm quite excited, and I appreciate you breaking down, the ETA on the upcoming mint. My last question for you, Brandon, is what excites you the most about HBAR in 2025?
Oh, that's a good question. It's the unknown, right? So you don't know. There's so much stuff that's cooking in the background for Hedera that we don't know that's coming. Like
Sure.
Everybody kind of blindsided to the point where some of this stuff flies under the radar and drives me absolutely up the wall. But like the NVIDIA and the Intel news, they're actually going to be embedding firmware in their chips that's based on Hedera technology through Equity Lab. In the future, we're going to have more announcements like that are just that much more exciting, and I think that's just going to keep flowing. It's the unknown. I just love, and that's why I like covering the space, because every week it's something new. I get to talk to a different team. So yeah, the catalysts that are going to move the HBAR economy forward throughout the next year that we don't know about. That's what excites me the most.
I couldn't agree more. Brandon, it's a pleasure as always. Thank you for taking the time, and I wish you the best of luck on this upcoming NFT collection of yours. And yeah, I'll be supporting on my very own. I'll be purchasing one in support of you and your channel and everything you have to offer. But on that note, if there's any closing thoughts, by all means.
All right. Well, I appreciate the support, and it's absolutely my pleasure coming on here. You're doing a great job.
Thanks, Brandon. And on that note, ladies and gentlemen, if you enjoyed today's content and you want to see more like this, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. All of Brandon's links will be linked down below to learn more about this upcoming NFT launch. And on that note, we will see you all in the next episode. Peace.
Go Birds.
Ready to transform your learning experience? Step into the future with the Learn to Earn platform on Hedera. Choose how you learn. Academic books in hard copy or NFT form. That's right, NFTs. Whether you prefer the traditional feel or a digital interactive journey, the choice is yours. Dive into the NFT, not just for the book, but for all the tools you need for success. Download the book, access tests, all within a seamless, immersive interface. Forget traditional logins. Simply scan the QR code, connect to our platform, and start your Learn to Earn journey. Pass your tests and watch your success turn into real rewards with Gcoin, our exclusive digital currency. Imagine learning at your own pace, acing exams, and reaping tangible benefits. It's not just education, it's a transformative journey towards success. Join the future of learning at gilmore-estates.net. Scan, learn, earn. It's that simple, and it's revolutionary.